Welcome to our channel, where we explore true crime stories, unsolved cases, and little-known mysteries from across Asia. If you enjoy thrilling, suspenseful stories and want to uncover the truth behind these cases, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our new videos. People still argue whether one can truly see the signs of a tragedy beforehand, or if everything only becomes clear when piecing together fragments after it's too late. In Adana, on a calm spring morning, the breeze carried the scent of orange blossoms, while the laughter of students echoed across the courtyard of Anatolia Vocational and Technical High School. Yet only days later, this very place would become the scene of a tragedy that shook all of Turkey. Aylin Kaya, a 15-year-old girl, was affectionately called the Little Sun by her friends. Her smile was as pure as the morning light, dissolving the shadows around her. She wasn't the kind of person who stood out because of glamour, but because of warmth and sincerity. Teachers adored her, classmates sought her out to share stories, and her family saw her as their brightest hope. Aylin liked to jot down small moments in her notebook, sketching dreams of a simple home, a stable job, and perhaps a peaceful life surrounded by loved ones. But that very light caught the gaze of a boy shrouded in darkness. Amir Demir, a classmate also 15, usually sat at the back of the class, quiet and detached. Sometimes, people noticed his eyes following Aylin, not the shy glances of a teenager, but something heavier, as if she were the only lamp in a dark room he refused to let go. Admiration slowly turned into obsession. Amir never spoke to Aylin, never truly became her friend, yet in his mind he built an invisible bond that never existed. His friends sometimes heard him make half-joking remarks. Just 3 days before the tragedy, he typed in a group chat, "Soon, I'll go to prison and become a boss." Everyone laughed it off, thinking it was just teenage bravado. No one realized it was a warning, a prophecy of the storm about to come. In her final days, Aylin remained as radiant as ever. She helped classmates prepare for exams, assisted her mother with chores, and scribbled in her diary. "Tomorrow will probably be a beautiful day," she once wrote. Behind those innocent words, there was no sign that fate was veering toward darkness. On April 5, 2025, Aylin told her parents she would stop by school to meet a friend. Her voice was cheerful, nothing unusual. Her parents never imagined it would be the last time they'd see her smile. Outside, the afternoon sun stretched across the road leading to the school gate, the yellow-stained walls accustomed to shouts of joy, now witnesses to footsteps of destiny. Amir was waiting. From afar, he looked like any other student in uniform, carrying a black backpack. But inside that bag wasn't just books. He had hidden a knife, as if everything had been planned. To him, this wasn't an ordinary meeting. In his mind, it was a decisive moment, either to possess or to destroy. For Aylin, there was no reason to suspect anything. She might have thought it was just a casual conversation, maybe to clear up a misunderstanding. She stepped into the courtyard unaware each step was pulling her further from her family's embrace forever. In the fading light of the afternoon, the two teenagers faced each other. To an outsider, it could have looked like any normal chat between classmates. Yet beneath the surface, tension simmered like fire beneath ashes. Aylin smiled gently, speaking first, while Amir's eyes darkened, heavy with jealousy, frustration, and an anger he never learned to control. That was the beginning of the chain of events that would silence her smile forever. The conversation between the two teenagers started with hesitant words but quickly turned into an argument. Aylin, with her natural honesty, tried to explain she never wanted to be involved with Amir in the way he imagined. To her, he was nothing more than a classmate. But to a boy consumed by obsession, rejection was unbearable, like a blade cutting into his fragile pride. They say that when a teenager loses control, it's the raw mix of immaturity and unrestrained fury colliding. Amir pulled the knife from his bag, his hand trembling not out of fear, but from the surge of emotions that had been boiling inside. In that instant, Aylin's world shrank into pure shock. She didn't have the chance to step back, to scream for help, before the first strike shattered the safety she had always known in her schoolyard. The attack was merciless, more than 20 stabs, aimed at her chest, her stomach, her neck. Aylin collapsed, her eyes wide open as if to ask why. But no answer came. In the quiet courtyard, the wind and birds seemed to vanish, replaced only by the cruelty hanging in the air. Most would expect a killer to fall into panic after such an act. But Amir was different. After Aylin lay motionless, he stood still for a moment, then calmly reached for his phone. He dialed his father and, in a voice disturbingly steady, said, "I just killed someone." His father, instead of calling the police, chose to cover it up. He rushed to the school, picked Amir up, and brought him home. The bloody clothes were washed, the murder weapon tossed into a nearby river, and Aylin's phone destroyed. Life inside their house continued as if nothing had happened, while in the schoolyard, the body of a young girl lay in silence, waiting to be found. 6 hours passed. By then, the sky had turned purple with dusk. A passerby noticed something unusual in the courtyard, an unmoving figure lying alone. When he stepped closer, the horrifying truth revealed itself. His cry for help shattered the evening calm, and soon the police arrived. The truth began to unfold through security footage, Aylin arguing with Amir, then vanishing from the frame. Minutes later, she was gone forever. The news spread quickly. The next day, Adana woke to headlines of a 15-year-old girl brutally murdered by her classmate. Shock rippled not only from the violence of the crime but from the chilling complicity of the killer's family. In cafes, markets, and school hallways, people whispered the same question: how could a teenager be so merciless? On April 6, Aylin's funeral took place. A long line of mourners carried white flowers, their tears flowing freely. Her mother nearly collapsed, needing others to support her steps. Her father stood in silence, his eyes red, no more tears left to cry. In the small coffin, Aylin's face looked peaceful, as though asleep. Yet the truth was that her 15-year-old dreams had been buried forever. Meanwhile, Amir was taken into custody. The first court hearing, conducted online, showed him trying to explain it away as an outburst of anger, insisting he never meant to kill her. But the earlier messages bragging about prison, the knife he brought to school, all painted a different picture. His words crumbled under the weight of evidence. For Aylin's family, there was no doubt. This was no accident. Amir was not a boy in love but a sickly obsessed teenager who couldn't accept rejection. And they couldn't bear that while their daughter lay in a grave, the killer's family had worked so hard to erase the crime. Public outrage swelled. Online forums exploded with condemnation, calling the case a reflection of decay in how some families raise and shield their children. Parents across Turkey shuddered at the thought their own children could become victims in a system not strong enough to protect them. A flower just beginning to bloom had been crushed, not by a natural storm, but by the hand of someone her own age. What shocked society was not only Aylin's death but also how easily such darkness could be concealed. After the funeral, when the cries faded into silence, a lingering pain clung to Aylin's family like a shadow. Their small home, once filled with the laughter of the little son, now drowned in suffocating quiet. Her desk remained open with a notebook half filled, her sneakers neatly placed by the door as if she would return to put them on at any moment. But the truth was cruel, those shoes would never be worn again. Her father tried to remain strong, but every night he broke down, clutching a framed photo of his daughter. Her mother often jolted awake in the middle of the night, rushing into the yard, calling Aylin's name as if her child might still hear. And Nare, Aylin's sister, had to become the pillar holding up her grieving parents while grieving herself. Standing before the press, her eyes swollen from tears yet her voice unwavering, she declared, "The law could not protect my sister, and it will not protect any child if we do not change it." For under Turkish law, a murderer between the ages of 15 and 18 could only face a maximum of 24 years in prison. With good behavior and reductions, Amir could walk free in his early 30s. A boy who once stabbed relentlessly could rebuild his life, while Aylin had none left to live. That sense of injustice fueled outrage. Online petitions spread rapidly, gathering thousands of signatures demanding reform. People poured into the streets, carrying portraits of young victims: Aylin Kaya, Derya Pakar, Murat Mutlu, Melis Aksoy. Their names were shouted in unison, echoing through the streets like a drumbeat of grief and fury. In Istanbul, Ankara, and Adana, marches moved through city streets, silent at times, then broken by sobs and chants. Protesters weren't just mourning Aylin, they were mourning all the children whose youth had been stolen by rage and by the cracks in the law. One mother held a trembling sign that read, "We don't want another Aylin." Public debates raged. Some argued teenagers should be treated with leniency, since their identities were still forming. But most pushed back. What innocence could excuse 20 deliberate strikes of a knife? Could a 15-year-old truly not understand that taking a life is murder? If the law was too forgiving, wouldn't it open the door for more tragedies? On talk shows, legal experts, psychologists, and activists gathered. Some emphasized the need for prevention, for teaching children emotional control and healthy boundaries. Yet the harshest criticism fell on Amir's family, not only for raising a boy consumed by obsession, but for shielding him after the crime. To many, their silence and cover-up were as damning as the act itself. For Aylin's family, these debates mattered little compared to their reality. Their loss was permanent. Her mother's heart clenched every time she saw classmates laughing together, imagining her daughter among them. Her father, walking past Aylin's school, could only lift his eyes to the sky, as though searching for a smile in the sunlight. Yet from this sorrow, a flame of justice began to burn. Aylin Kaya joined with other grieving families to form an advocacy group, demanding reform for juvenile crime laws in severe cases. They organized community gatherings, shared their stories, and turned personal tragedies into a collective outcry. Slowly, their silence was replaced by a chorus of resistance. On social media, Aylin's radiant smile spread everywhere. She became a symbol of all children who deserve protection, not just from violence, but from apathy and from loopholes in justice. One of her friends wrote, "Remember her name. She deserved to live many more years. And if we stay silent, more smiles will be stolen." In the end, the story of Aylin Kaya was not just a heartbreaking case. It was a warning bell that evil can exist even in teenage years, and that justice falters when laws are too weak. Her tragedy reminded everyone that protecting the light of little sons like Aylin requires more than tears, it demands real change.